Hey everybody, welcome to the Have You Ever Played podcast, the only podcast that Valve doesn't want you to know about. I'm Matt, aka Matt Fondude, and who are you?
I'm James, aka Afro40.
And James, we've been on a mini hiatus for a while. We've both been very busy, which
Yep.
we'll talk about during our week segments. But you know what we haven't been too busy to do?
What?
Play Deadlock. We can talk about it now. We can talk
Oh my
about
god.
the super secret Valve project,
Oh my
Deadlock.
god.
We
Undisclosed Valve game.
Yeah, this has been disclosed. We're
Yep.
allowed to talk about it, even though people were talking about it even when we were playing it when it was not allowed to be disclosed.
Yeah,
So,
I think the funniest thing, the actual announcement of the NDA dropping for Deadlock was really funny because it was very Valve. They just put a message saying, "Hey, the NDA is gone." They didn't change literally a single other thing. Like
well,
you
it was
still need
also
to
yeah, it was also a Yoshi profile pic
Yeah. Yeah,
comment.
it's cuz like Yoshi is like the community guy. Like he like announces when all the playtests are happening and all that stuff. Um, but I think the funniest thing that I realized today, so they do bi-weekly patches on Thursdays, and so a patch dropped today, and a lot of people who had just gone into the playtest after it got announced, because when it got announced, they made it easier to get in because you can just straight up invite Steam friends now, basically.
Hmm.
So a bunch of new people got in. There's like 100,000 players right now. It's insane, and they got on the Discord, they saw the link for the patch notes, and they were like, "What do you mean I need a username and password to access the patch notes?" Like that is such like an NDA playtest game thing that they just didn't get rid of, and it was really funny. Lots of people were very like concerned.
Yeah, we want you to play the game, but we don't want you to know what's going on at
Yeah,
all. We don't want you to be informed.
yeah. So everybody does have a username and password of their own. It's like everybody can sign it. It's just like it's in like the email that you got invited in, and most people just ignored it.
Hmm.
And it's on like a forum that only they use. It's very odd.
Well,
Um,
it's interesting that I think this whole thing has been a crazy marketing strategy to get people hyped for the game because
mhm.
the fact that we both got in to the beta pretty or the alpha whatever the test we got in so early, and I mean you more have connections,
Yeah,
so it made
so
more
to be
sense.
fair, I did know somebody who did QA testing on the game, and then like how it works is you get into the playtest, and then you can invite other people, or you can suggest other people to be invited. I'm assuming they do like some basic vetting to make sure you're not like a leaker or something like that.
Hmm.
Uh,
Taking
actually,
massive leaks.
yeah, and actually, speaking of leaks, I don't remember what the publication was or the magazine or whatever, but somebody did like a massive deadlock leak like a day before the NDA dropped and just got permabanned.
Yeah, I saw that. There was a tweet. It was like a "you are banned" tweet.
Yeah, I
But again, it's
wonder.
all news hype, for the game.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wonder if that getting leaked made them go like, okay, let's just drop the NDA. Like, there's kind of not much of a point because from what I can tell, them dropping the NDA didn't seem like like it obviously it could have been planned, but like as I said, they just kind of dropped it and didn't really do much else. Like they didn't do any other like advertising or anything like that. They just kind of let the game speak for itself, which to be fair is very Valve. But also, if you look at the game's Steam page, it actually doesn't even follow the rules for game Steam pages because
Oh, well, let me look at that.
you're supposed to have like 5 screenshots of the game or something like that, and all it has is a video of like the pre-intro for the main menu.
Oh, wow, that's weird. Yeah,
Yeah, so
Valve to be announced.
yeah, it's just very funny, and like the
Very
description is
strange.
very basic and all that stuff. Like it's just literally Deadlock is a multiplayer game in early development.
I don't know. They're doing some weird stuff. I really think that a lot of this is like their weird marketing, but it worked. Everyone was interested. Like I had no idea what the game was about,
Yeah.
and then we got to play it, and my grand, amazing, super cool reaction to the game is, yeah, I don't think I like it that much. It's like Dota with shooting, with third person shooting, which is
Hmm.
cool. I think I don't like Dota is my
Hmm.
problem, and I don't like MOBAs. So what are your thoughts as the resident MOBA enjoyer?
So yeah, when I first played it, I kind of like not I didn't burn out, but I just kind of fell off from it. Like it wasn't like I disliked it or anything. I actually did have quite a bit of fun playing it. I just kind of stopped. Um, and then recently, when I got back from my vacation, one of my friends, or actually while I was on my vacation, one of my friends kept saying, "Hey, I've been grinding Deadlock. You're gonna play it with me when you get back, right?" And I was like, maybe. It's like, and I was like, "Dog, I don't even have the game like installed anymore." anymore. Like, man, uh, though it is a very small game. It's only like 9 gigs, so it wasn't even a problem to reinstall it. But
Yeah, they
I don't
don't
know.
have all the HD super cool flaming skins, inspect element skins, you know.
Yeah, and yeah, all the character models are pretty obviously, works in progress. Like they're not super high detail or anything like that. Um, but yeah, so I got back into the game. It's the main game that I've been playing recently. How the playtests work is on every weekday. They're from 5 p.m. EST to 6 a.m. EST. And for every weekend, it's 1 p.m. EST to 6 a.m. EST. So,
Mhm.
and like every month or two, they push the start time back an hour. Like I believe the start time got pushed back another hour today. So now it's starting at like noon EST on weekends and um 4 p.m. EST on weekdays. And what was really funny is this week I got to the point where like the main thing I was doing outside of like work was like I was playing Deadlock. Like my day didn't really like start until Deadlock started. So like it was over the weekend. I woke up at like 11 or something. I'm like, wow, I woke up kind of late, and then I'm like, oh, it's 11. Deadlock's on until 1. I'm going back to bed. Like
Okay, so
I was on like full degen schedule for this game.
it's safe to say that you're enjoying the game.
Yeah, it's really fun. I I think I did have one complaint initially that really turned me off of the game when I first play tested, and it was with how the last thing and denies work. So basically, for those of you that haven't played, how it works is you last hit a creep, like in any other MOBA, and after you last hit it, unless you melee it, an orb will fly out, and this orb is like half of the last hit gold. So it's like you get half of the gold when the thing dies naturally. You actually don't even need to last hit it because gold and XP are the same in this game. But if you last hit it with a gun, the orb will fly out, and either you or an enemy can shoot it. If an enemy shoots it, they get half the gold and you get nothing. If you shoot it, you just get half the gold. And so what used to happen is that the orb would fly out in a predictable path. It would always be the same every single time. So as you can imagine, you shoot the creep, right? And then the orb flies out, like it flies up. You have to flick to that, whereas the enemy can just pre-aim it, right? So it's like a lot
Mhm.
less work on their part. So what would end up happening is in like really, really oppressive lane matchups, you just get spam denied. And they would just shove the wave and they would just deny everything under your tower. And it was really, really unfun. It made for some extremely polarizing lane matchups.
And it just
Um,
depends on the primary. So again, because this is a MOBA type game, the characters. So you're playing with characters that are almost character like Overwatch style hero shooter characters,
mhm. Yeah, like
except they have
everybody has
mhm.
their own gun.
Everyone has a different primary fire and
Yes.
then abilities. Now the primary fires, you could have a gun that is like a god tier denying machine, right? And then you
Yeah.
could just completely oppress a person by just just holding down the button over the bubble as it spawns, and you're just
Yeah.
like, what are you gonna do?
So generally, what they do to keep that in check, they've done a decent job, I think. So actually, first of all, to fix the denying problem, what they did is they gave the orb 3 paths. It can go up, left, or right, and it'll randomly choose one of the 3 paths. So you can never accurately predict what's going to happen. And also, if the orbs hit any terrain like a wall or a ceiling, it'll just instantly act as if it'll just instantly disappear. And if the orbs disappear naturally, the person who got the last hit just gets the gold. So like mid game, you don't have to do this whole annoying thing where it's like, oh, I lasted all these creeps, and then I have to stop and shoot all the orbs. It just does it automatically when the orb expires. um, and then as far as balancing the guns themselves, for the most part, what people have had some minor complaints about have been shotguns are very strong at denying because you just have to be less accurate. You have to flick less. And you can like aim in a more broad manner. The way that they've balanced it out a little bit is that the shotgun characters are effectively the game's equivalent to melee characters, and they don't have very good harass. They're very all in, and they have to put themselves in pretty risky positions. And since everybody has guns, and most of them have high fire rate, if you're like, let's say I go past the creeps and start like trading with you, on the way back, I'm always going to take a ton of damage. Um, so you have ways of just naturally being up on damage on a character who can naturally last hit and deny a little better than you, so you can apply more lane pressure and maybe have better kill opportunities. And also, just to be clear to people that don't understand what the game is, since Valve isn't really marketing it, it's a third person shooter that's also a MOBA. So like imagine you're just dropped into like Dota or something, but it's a third person shooter.
Yeah, so you have almost gunplay. I wanna say like Overwatch, but not even really. It's interesting. It almost feels like the actual mechanical skill of the game takes a backseat toward the MOBA elements. I don't know if you would agree with
Yeah,
that.
so I would say there are some mechanics, like obviously like reaction time for the orbs and stuff like that. I would say the hitboxes are generally pretty big. Some comically so, like Mo and Krill, the character that I play a lot. He's like a mole guy. Like he's a mole guy with a little French guy on top of him with a gun. And what's really funny about him is not only is he very big, but he has two headshot hitboxes.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's the mole's headshot hitbox and the little guy's headshot hitbox. And it's very intentional because this character has like really high base health and high HP regen. But it's really funny. So if somebody has like a shotgun, you're just getting headshotted automatically all the time.
Oh, wow. That sucks.
Yeah. That is also a shotgun character, by the way. So that is also kind of another example of how they balance out the shotgun characters, where while he may have like a really high damage gun, all other guns are effectively doing more damage to him.
Mhm. Now,
Um, but
I don't particularly get the fact that so it's a MOBA game
hmm
and it's a shooter, but it feels like whereas in Overwatch, you're going for headshots, you're going for those mechanical, like you or like a CS:GO or something. You want to go for
yeah,
headshots. You're trying to really be good with your aim. But in this game, you could be getting headshots, you could be landing shots, but if you're under leveled and not buying the right items, you could just be doing no damage and then just get like destroyed in like one hit, which is a very
yeah,
MOBA esque thing, which I
yeah.
I kind of bounced off of.
So I would generally say that the hitboxes in the game are pretty big for the most part.
Hmm.
Headshots do definitely matter, but also there are three like sort of item types in the game. There's vitality, which is like tanking and regen. There's spirit, which is spell damage, and weapon damage, which is just obviously weapon damage. So if you're a character who just builds spirit, you actually don't have to worry that much about shooting for the most part. Like you obviously still shoot because why not? But you don't necessarily always need to rely on your shooting mechanics to do well in the game. Though for some characters, it definitely does help a lot. Like there are some characters that have like passives instead of like actual active abilities that basically just amplify your ability to shoot good.
Hmm.
So like your aim and mechanics definitely do matter, but not so much that it'll like I'm trying to think of how to word it. Not so much that it is consistently winning or losing you fights on certain characters. So like
Yeah,
basically it matters as much as you want it to matter.
I mean, I think it's a more of a my personal taste in gaming,
hmm
how I would enjoy the shooting aspects more. It almost feels like it like a very surface level shooter, but it's just a different way of viewing the camera angle for like like a MOBA, where it's like, well, we're
hmm
not top down anymore, so maybe the vision's different. But I don't think that the actual shooting elements make that huge of a difference. You
hmm
know, it feels like, oh well, okay, wait, if I big picture this, I'm basically just doing MOBA things, but in a
Yeah.
different way. Which is again, I don't particularly like MOBAs at all, so
hmm
it's never gonna hit with me really. The
Yeah.
closest it's come is maybe Smite, which is also like a third person MOBA, but this game feels very
hmm
different than a Smite.
Yeah. I think
Um,
Smite is bored. I mean, there is aiming in Smite, but it's even less than this game, I would say.
yeah,
And
the,
also
they're
and also Smite has actual melee characters, whereas this game everybody has a gun. And
For now.
there's also very long reloads. So like
Oh
that's also a
yes, which you
factor
can
in.
build toward.
Yeah, that's also a factor in laning though. Is like if you're last hitting and then you have to reload, you maybe like can't shoot some of the orbs, so you got to manage your mag really well because its reload's like 3 seconds or something like that,
Hmm.
which doesn't sound long, but in lane it's pretty long. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess for anybody that doesn't have a sort of frame of reference on what this game feels like, I guess the closest comparison I can think of is Monday Night Combat. Um,
Oh yeah,
game is
that's a
actually
throwback.
yeah, it actually that game actually was not as popular as I thought it was when I was a kid. So that might be a bit of an obscure reference, but if you've played Monday Night Combat but haven't played Deadlock, you know.
If you've played this other obscure game, then you'll know about this obscure game. But yeah, I mean,
Yep.
true. I think one thing I would like to talk about before we move on from Deadlock, because there's probably a lot to talk about, and we'll talk about more of it as the weeks go by, because it's not going
Hmm.
away.
Yeah.
I think that something that, and I have this issue a little bit with Dota as well, but I don't particularly like any of the character designs. Like, I don't,
Hmm.
there's not, maybe I'm spoiled from an Overwatch perspective of just like immediately likable personalities and characters, but
Yeah.
I'm
I
feeling a little bland on these. They're interesting designs. They're just not. They just don't have that wow factor. You know what I mean?
yeah. So yeah, what I think that's not a sentiment that is uncommon. To be fair, I think some people aren't too crazy about the setting. Um,
Hmm.
it's basically like a 1930s like New York sort of setting,
It's a bizarre
like
setting.
gangsters and stuff.
I
Yeah,
can't put my
it's
finger
one
on
that's
it.
less used nowadays. And if you have ever kept up with Valve leaks, you would know about a game called Neon Prime, which was meant to be this sort of like cyberpunk MOBA that Valve was working on, and this is literally just Neon Prime.
Yeah.
From what I heard, basically what happened is they got bad feedback on the cyberpunk environment or setting, uh, and they were working on an other game at the same time, and they kind of merged the settings together. So this is like they took this setting from another game they were working on that was probably going to get axed anyway, and like used all the assets from it and stuff. But I do think that there's a lot of potential in the setting. I personally like it. I can see why people wouldn't. There's some there's some like supernatural stuff going on and like some occult things that I think that if they feel like doing lore, they could definitely expand on a lot. But that is a big if with Valve, because for those of you that don't know, Valve's company structure is not necessarily the best for content as we would typically know it. You know, you can already tell from the way that they've quote unquote marketed this game and what they do with Dota and their other games, where they don't really have like a designated marketing team as much as they have people who do this stuff when they're interested in it. Because Valve is very much about like passion projects. They work on what they're most interested in at the time.
Hmm.
So yeah, but I hope it definitely seems like they really care about this game. Like, they're doing bi-weekly major updates. They're even adding characters. They said they were going to do it bi-weekly. They didn't get one this week because I believe there was a bit of a hold up on the character they were working on, but the plan is bi-weekly characters, and they have done that the past 4 weeks.
I feel like they are very much trying with this one. They want it to be another another Dota, another CS. Another game
Hmm.
people are playing, and I do think it'll be successful enough within the niche because I think people want to play games like this, and Valve
Yeah.
has infinity money, and if they
Yeah.
want it to succeed, it'll succeed.
I mean, if you even look at the general reception of this game, like pretty much every streamer who has touched a MOBA or an FPS is either into this game or knows somebody that's into this game.
Yeah,
Like
I think
this
the
game, like
reception
make
has
no
been
mistake, this game is
positive.
extremely popular right now. Like 100K concurrent players on Steam for a game that's technically not even in beta is pretty impressive, I would say.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying like I personally don't like it, and maybe I'll
Hmm.
try it again. But
Yeah,
I'm not gonna like these kind of games in general.
yeah.
It's just not the kind of games I enjoy. But I can see how someone would find it fun.
Hmm.
And there's nothing like that's super stand out like this is so bad and awful.
Yeah.
Besides maybe the characters, in my opinion, and that might hurt them later. And there's a story later what we can talk about where people did not like the character design at all, which definitely hurt a hero shooter. But I do think that you want to have characters that people care about and want to buy skins for, you know. And
Yeah.
I'm not seeing that with some of these designs.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think the characters pop like a League of Legends or Overwatch or something like that. Partially because it's
Hmm.
not as bright of a setting. Like Valve does that a lot, where they like to go for sort of darker. I don't want to say edgier because it's
It's
definitely
a
not.
muted palette.
Yeah,
It's a
like more
muted
muted
palette.
palettes. Yeah, yeah, and also like even in Dota, you could see it where it's like the stuff isn't meant necessarily always meant to look pretty. It's meant to look. Okay, this is an unintentional rhyme. It's not meant to look pretty, but it's more so meant to look gritty a lot of the time.
Hmm.
You know,
I.
it's more about evoking a theme
Mhm.
or like a specific environment than it is necessarily being like conventionally uh like pleasing to the eyes.
I feel like in a world where these games are kind of like alcohol, for an analogy, like a League of Legends is maybe a Four Loco or a White Claw, and any Valve game like a Dota 2 is just a standard beer. You know what I mean? It's just
I would say it's more like vodka.
vodka. Oh well, no, I don't know. I'm kind of getting this. Like, it's just like, well, that's it's like a beer. It's like an adult taste. You're like, all right, I like this. It's just it feels. Uh, Dota 2 feels like a game for like a 35-year-old who just got home from their shift. You know, at the I don't know the diamond mine,
It
and
feels like I think Valve games feel like they're made for people who were bullied for being nerds back when people were like ashamed of being nerds or got
yeah,
shamed
it's
for
kind of they're
being
kind
nerds.
of boomer games. You know what? Now at this point, they aren't because the real boomer shooter is like Doom, but
God.
but I think it's the new boomer generation.
Yeah.
It's our it's people who are like a little bit older who aren't into the flash and anime craziness and swimsuit
God.
characters and
I don't know why, but
get
in my head there's like some extreme overlap between the audience Valve wants and like the audience for like Warhammer, and I don't know why I think that.
I kind of
Like
get that vibe.
I guess like my visual of like the type or my idea of the type of person that like likes it, like the player profile, I guess is kind of similar.
Well, it's kind of funny because like CS:GO kind of is dipping its toe into that anime hype child energy, right?
Hmm.
But Valorant has clearly beaten them on that.
Yeah.
But you have like anime skins for your guns
Hmm.
in CS:GO, but it feels weird. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we should move on from Deadlock and we should talk about another secret Valve project instead.
Yep.
So it seems as though that this is by the way, these are all rumors, but it really seems as though that Half-Life 3, a game, the meme, the legend, might actually be real or being worked on. And it might not be exactly Half-Life 3, but some sort of
OMG God.
Half-Life project is being worked on.
Okay, so this actually does connect to Deadlock a lot more than you would think, because the original game that Deadlock was is like effectively using the assets from was called Citadel, and it
Mhm.
was meant to be a game set in the Half-Life universe. Um, and so for those of you that don't know why Half-Life development has been so troubled and why we haven't had Half-Life 3, is the general idea is it gets stuck in like playtesting because they're trying to make it like perfect because you know you can't just follow up. You can't just make a new Half-Life game just like casually. Like it has to be good.
Well, Gabe Newell has said in interviews how they basically will not do a new Half-Life game unless they can innovate in the gaming space,
Yeah,
which you've seen from Half-Life 1 to 2. We don't count the episodes, I guess. That's kind of part of 2. But Half-Life
yeah,
1, 2, and Alex are all kind of innovative.
yeah,
And I guess Gabe Newell also said they've tried to make a Half-Life 3 several times and then just thrown out the development. And I guess a lot of those
yeah.
assets ended up in Half-Life Alex. and in other projects. Like you're talking about the Citadel
Hmm.
as well.
Yeah, and actually something kind of interesting about Citadel is there was a little bit of that innovation in what it supposedly was. So like according to the rumors, it was going to be again, it was like a MOBA-esque game, but the main thing that was going to set it apart was that you had like a sort of commander like in the old Battlefield games like Battlefield 4, and they were in VR. So like you
Oh,
had
I
like a
mean that's
six
cool.
yeah, you had like a six man that was kind of like your coach slash commander in VR, and they could like buff up your troops and stuff like that and spawn stuff in. And so they were kind of merging VR with regular input in a competitive multiplayer game.
That's extremely cool. I wish VR was more
Yeah,
apparent and accessible
yeah. Because
in
I was
people's
gonna say
houses
like that.
or
I
bundled.
immediately when I saw that I was like, oh, there's definitely gonna be problems with finding that like sixth man.
Yeah,
Because like so basically like the theory would be like, hey, 1 in 6 people has to have a VR headset,
especially for
and like,
teams. Like, and also thinking
yeah,
about that, imagine like a collegiate team or like an esports team, or even the setup at a tournament. Like, how is that working?
yeah, you just have one guy in the back locked in. You have to give
Yeah,
him
he's got
like
his Google Cardboard on
you have to
his
give him
like
his space.
Android phone.
Oh
Oh my
man.
god! Don't
Uh,
throw things at the other team's VR person to throw them
yeah,
off. Throw crabs at them like Hungry Box.
yeah, but yeah, Valve is a very interesting company right now. I guess one thing, sort of a knock-on effect of all these new projects, is they've kind of pulled back on Dota a little bit. From what
Hmm.
I understand, they have passed off the organization of the international to like a an organization called PGL, which they were helping with the international before, and they were doing like Dota majors and stuff like that. It's not like they're completely new. Um, but it's just a little bit of like, well, you'll go to TI and it's not like while it is like a celebration of Dota and stuff, it's not like you're just gonna see all the Valve guys there working necessarily. Like they might still be there because they love the game, but
Yeah,
might be a
passing of
slightly
the
different
torch
vibe.
though.
Yeah, yeah.
They need to focus on their They need to focus on Deadlock and probably a lot of their hardware division
Mm-hmm.
because the Steam Deck sold like a bajillion units, and the Steam Deck is fantastic, by the way. I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited for new variants and models of it. I'll probably buy another variant when that comes out. I haven't bought. I have the original from launch. I didn't buy an OLED model, but I'll buy Steam Deck 2, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I guess there's not too much else to say about Half Life. It's kind of a story that is constantly being talked about, but this time of all times, there's the most credibility of yes, this is probably actually happening, which is exciting. It's exciting to
Yeah.
be in that timeline of maybe we'll get a Half Life 3. That it's always fun when Valve drops a new game.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, at this point, the Half-Life 3 talk is always going to be. If you hear somebody say it's definitely happening, yes, that's probably the best thing you can hear.
yeah, no, it's strange. Like I've the fact that it is probably legitimately we're gonna see something. It's not gonna be half. I don't know if it'll be Half Life 3 with a big three. I think
Yeah,
that sets them up for failure. It'll
another
probably
another
be
Half-Life game. I
yeah
actually
another.
think the less you hear about the gameplay and such, the better. Because every time there's something leaked about like a new Half-Life game's like gameplay or something, with the exception of Alex, it just ends up being something else.
And then it becomes the new game Deadlock. Anyway,
Yep.
speaking of games that probably wish they were something else,
Oh god.
let's talk about Sony PlayStation's newest greatest failure that everyone could have seen coming. The game Concord, which I saw for context, we talked about Concord the trailer on one of
Yeah.
the game show things. And I think we were like, that
Yeah.
looks kind of cool, or then we were like, oh no, it's a hero shooter or something like that. We were like, oh no, it's like a
Yeah, like I
four-player
thought it was
game.
like this like Guardians of the Galaxy like single player adventure game with like character relationships with lots of depth and cool humor and stuff like that. And then and then right after they showed the gameplay and
It's
I
like,
was man,
no, hero
like the
shooter.
collective disappointment. Like I don't remember if I was looking at the chat, but the chat was probably so mad.
Oh, everyone was clowning on it. And
Oh
here's the
man.
problem: there is like a ton of money put into this. This was supposed to be another fantastic live service game, in which was to sap money out of people. And the worst part about it is, one, the reason I even was thinking about Concord was I think it dropped on Steam, and I saw it, and I'm like, Concord. I think I remember that. What is this? And then I
Hmm.
didn't think about it, and then I saw some YouTube videos about people talking about how much of a massive failure it is. And then I remembered, oh yeah,
Mm.
it's that game with the hot sauce. I think we talked about in the trailer.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
was
the
like
hot
hot sauce.
sauce. I really
Um,
like the hot sauce gag. Okay. I don't think I've actually ever talked about this on the podcast. I am like a hot sauce, like spicy food, like addict.
mhm.
So for reference of like how bad it is, I put hot sauce on my rice. I put hot sauce on my
Okay.
burgers. I put it on like literally everything. Like I'm that guy from the Frank's Red Hot ad
Yeah, you
or the
literally put
grandma or
that beep
whatever.
on everything.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like doesn't matter the kind of hot sauce. I have any. I just need my hot sauce. I'm a
Mhm.
very
So
very
you
big
were
hot sauce
pro
enjoyer.
Concord at that moment. I remember you actually were
Yeah,
like, oh, you're like that's kind of cool. There's hot
yeah.
sauce, and I'm like, it still kind of looks really bad.
Yeah, no, my parents are very concerned.
Hmm.
Um,
So yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
I So anyway, with Concord, apparently people who have actually played the game have said, "But I've not played the game. I'm not buying this game. You're not going to buy
yeah,
this game.
yeah.
No
No,
one's going to
no,
play
definitely
this. It's
not.
going to get shut down." But apparently the game is actually pretty fun. Like the gameplay is solid. The problem is, like I've said, it is the most uninspired safe game ever. It is just like by the books. It is basically, all right, what if we did like an Overwatch style hero shooter, but changed nothing? And it's like people are already kind of over Overwatch. So if you're
Yeah,
gonna release a game in 2024 and not really innovate at all in the space, and then also have the gall to have characters that are really like unappealing, like no one likes the characters in this game, the
hmm,
designs, which is they were going for a Guardians of the Galaxy style, like here's a green alien person,
yep,
but people don't want to buy a hat for a green alien person. They want some crazy flashy character. And
yeah,
people are just clowning on the costumes. There's like a battle pass, and it's like it gives like the green lady like a cat ears hat, and it's like a full price battle pass like reward. It's like no one wants this.
yeah. What's actually really interesting to me that I've thought about recently with skins is so games like Overwatch and League, they'll make the base character. It'll be well defined, but it's something that you can really like, work with as far as like theme changes and stuff. Because they're not like niche, right?
Hmm.
Like they're well defined but niche. Like the whole like I think that's something that is also a bit of a problem, or might be a bit of a problem with Deadlock, is the characters are actually pretty niche in design and theme.
Yeah.
Because it's like, when you think about what you can do, what games do for skins, like they do like all these themed events and stuff. Deadlock is like the theme itself is something you would see in a themed event. I feel like
That's
they like
true.
a game might do like their gangster 1930s event
And that's
with
one
like
I
a
would
magic
skip. I'd
twist.
be like, I'll wait for a better theme.
Yeah,
Like I don't
it's
particularly like
it's
it.
definitely interesting. Like, I think like futuristic themes are very flexible. Generally speaking, like futuristic or modern, it's very flexible. And then
Hmm.
like also like not necessarily high fantasy, but just like vague fantasy, like League of Legends and stuff like that. What some MOBAs will go for is also pretty flexible.
Yeah, I'm in the vague fantasy camp. If any setting, I prefer a vague fantasy over a space. I kind of have been like I've been digging the cyberpunk stuff actually though.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of futuristic stuff. And it was funny because like I actually when I first played Deadlock, I didn't know that like this was like Neon Prime. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, I kind of liked that theme better. I was probably in the minority.
Well, I think we should keep talking about Concord because we've already moved off of it like everyone else who's played Concord.
Man,
They've already forgotten about it. But basically, it's just not doing well. It's probably not going to do well. And it just ends up
yeah,
looking embarrassing. And maybe we could stop making 1,000 live games as a service, live service games that are all kind of mid.
yeah.
Maybe we'll get the memo.
Yeah, I guess like two things. First of all, it is really sad. I just remembered they said they were going to do like a new story cutscene or something like every like 2 weeks or something. And that's
Yeah,
definitely not happening now.
well, they
Like
saw
like
a
it like
hole
it
in the
like for at
market.
least not for a long time, right? Like it'll happen for a little bit just cuz lots of it is already produced and it's already down the pipeline. But like
Yeah,
I think that you know like it's probably not wise financially to continue doing that for a while, especially since I imagine that that and the workflow of it are probably very expensive. Like those kinds of cutscenes every couple weeks is not easy, especially if they're not like super far ahead right now.
I think they're just done. I think honestly, the game is like they saw the reception and they're just like, all right, we're gonna quietly cancel this or put this on life support
Yeah,
for as
maybe. I
long
mean,
as we
it's
can.
only in early access now, right?
I know, but it's cooked. I
It's
think
not
it's out.
fully out. Oh
Oh,
no.
I'm not sure. Well, it's
Yeah, yeah,
probably never making it out of early access at this point.
yeah. I guess I hope it's not fully out. Um, the other thing
It's
I
yeah,
want
it's
to talk about
$40.
is
No, I think it is fully out. 40
oh no.
bucks.
Oh yeah, I remember. I remember. I saw the $40 thing. Oh no. The other thing I
Tough.
want to talk about is trend chasing. You know, we could talk about this a little bit when everything was like a hero shooter at that game showcase. But you know, it's very interesting the way that people approach it because I think what more studios should actually do is they should look at like trends that don't have that are like a little older and don't have enough games in there. Like God, I hate to bring it back again, but Deadlock are doing the Smite thing, and like Smite is
Well,
like
Smite's doing the Smite thing with Smite 2 as well.
yeah, but it's like you know there are other third person MOBAs, but not many of them have really like blown up, and they've never been as popular as the regular MOBAs.
Hmm.
So you know, it's something where they kind of saw like a what's the word?
Like a gap in the market,
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah, they saw a gap in the market basically. So it wasn't like they were looking at where the market was going. They've looked at like where it's been and been like, huh, you know, we can still do more with this. Like people didn't really go all the way.
Well, I think the problem is companies do that, and then it takes 6 years to make the game, and then they all come out around the same time. Then it becomes like, oh, it's whoever releases first and is the best of them will be like, well, this one I've already played this. Why would I play XYZ? Which we saw with that game. What was it? The Blood. Well, there's Back for Blood, and then there was that vampire game that just got shut down, and all these other
Uh
games. Remember that wave of like Left 4 Dead style 4 player wave
yeah,
shooter games? It's like they all
yeah,
come out at once.
but I think also part of the problem there is that they aren't necessarily innovating on it. They're like they're doing like light innovations, but they're not like really reinventing the wheel fully. Like
Well,
I
they're
would say
just
if you
adding battle passes and
yeah, like
microtransactions.
I would say if you do something truly innovative, even if it's like an older concept, like people will definitely play it because it's an experience that they won't get anywhere else. But like if you genuinely told me like, hey, Back for Blood is nothing like Left 4 Dead 2, it's a completely new experience, I would not believe you.
Well, it has card and like and well, the problem with that game was everything new they added people didn't like, so that's tough
Man,
too.
yeah, unfortunate.
Um. Anyway, I think we can move on from Concord because we'll never have to talk about it again, and we
Yeah,
should move
bye
on to a
Concord.
game that was
R.I.P.
very much the opposite of a horrible failure. That game, Black Myth Wukong, a game I have not played.
Yep, I have also not played. So this was
Well,
really funny for me actually. I was on vacation, specifically I was on a cruise when this game came out. And so for those of you that don't know, cruise internet is very bad. Like
mhm.
if you're on Twitter, you load maybe like one set of tweets an hour or something like that. Um and so what happened is, you know, I was browsing Twitter and I saw this guy, he said something along the lines of so first of all, this is like a random like not a meme account, but you know like he's a poster as like
Okay.
people usually say. Like, you know, he's a guy who just he's posts like funny tweets every once in a while and like replies to stuff. And he basically said he got Black Myth Wukong, and he was just, at first I thought he was just being like a shill or something, like he was paid because you know he was like hyping the shit out of the game like the moment he bought it, like you know he's posting pictures of the download and all that stuff. I'm like, dude, what? And at no point did he post actual gameplay, which I found really funny because I'm like, I mean, so I get you want people to play this game, but I don't know what it I don't even know what it is. Like I don't know what the gameplay looks like.
I also don't know really. I think it's a Souls-like game. I know the story is a very popular story.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Like
the
Journey to the West is probably one of the
yes.
most popular stories of all time. Like this period, like
So the game is
in
doing
Asian culture.
extremely well in Asia.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think
But that
it had like 2 million players on concurrently in like China alone. I think or something like
mhm.
that. And it was really funny because people were saying like, "Oh, they're using bots. The game's falling off," because they saw the 2 million players like all sign
Uh,
off at once. I'm like, "No, dog. They went to bed. It's nighttime in China."
yeah, it's like, do you know how many people live in China?
Yeah.
It's like enough for the game to be doing good, you know?
Uh, but yeah, it was funny. So this guy he kept tweeting about it, and I think at some point he tweeted, "Thank God Kratos didn't go to the east because if he ran into Wukong, ooh, it would have gotten nasty." And everybody was like, "What are you talking about, man?" And then he finally posted gameplay. And so from what I can tell, they do like the God. It's a little bit of a God of War like.
Mhm.
They have those like really long, or not really long, but they have those like action cutscenes mid boss fight and stuff that God of War did with like the original Boulder fight.
Okay, yeah, and
That like
almost
lots of
like
those
in a
really cool
Juras
like
or
set
Wrath.
pieces, and I'm like, I might play the game one day because it does look pretty cool. Um,
I might as well,
not now
pick it
necessarily.
up on a sale. I don't need to pay full price. I don't
Yeah,
care that
maybe.
much about this game. I gotta play
Yeah, no,
Rise of
that's the
P.
weird thing with. I feel like I don't have as much of an urge to buy new single player games as I used to. Like the last time I really felt that urge was with Doom Eternal. I think.
Oh, I'm about to double up that urge and crush it in a minute because this is kind of cursed, but Final Fantasy 16 for it is coming out on PC in
Hmm.
like a couple of days, and God of War Ragnarok is coming out on PC in a couple
Ooh,
of days. So
ooh.
they're both within like 4 days of each other.
Hmm.
And I'm going to just like destroy those games. Now the problem
Yeah.
is Final Fantasy 16 is coming out first. I want to play God of War first. But I don't think I
Ooh.
wanna buy 16 and play it within, like, 4 days and beat the
Ooh,
whole
yeah,
thing and
that's
then play
rough.
God of War.
God, I
So
remember I
I'll
used to have that experience as like a kid where it's like, you buy a new game and another new game comes out right after, and it's like, well, I don't want to split my time.
yeah, I think I will have to what I'm gonna do is wait, even though it'll suck because people will be talking about 16,
Hmm.
I'll wait, buy God of War, beat that whole thing, then go into 16 because 'cause I've been, like, jonesing to play some God of War, you know?
Yeah.
But it is rare. I think another example could be when Death Stranding came out or when the new Death Stranding will come out.
Hmm.
Buying or anytime FromSoft releases a game, I will day one buy it. You know, it is
Yeah.
rare for me to pay full price for
Yeah,
games.
actually, that is a good point because I think those games are like very big, like talking points.
Hmm.
Like when Elden Ring came out, everybody was sharing that experience. So to play Elden Ring later I would definitely say it was a different experience. Like I personally played it
Oh,
later, and
100%.
I didn't feel the same as like people described in some cases. And it's like not that Black Myth Wukong, not that I don't believe Black Myth Wukong can have that kind of experience, but I I haven't been given a reason to believe it is on that level, partially because it's a new studio or it's a studio I haven't really heard of, right? So it's like,
It'll be there for you
yeah,
when you want to play it.
yeah. So I'll play it whenever. I also think it's a game that while it was hyped, and it's doing really well, I think there's definitely like a subset of people that are gonna play it later.
Oh,
You
100%.
know, like when it's on
Especially on
sale,
like a
I'll
good
definitely catch
sale.
a wave where people are like realizing like, oh, this game is like actually good. Like they weren't just talking out of their asses
So this
or something
game will
like
be
that.
a nice. It's gonna hit the sale. It's probably gonna hit a nice like. What is it? Is it a $60 game right now?
I believe so. I can check
So
actually
if
real
it's
quick.
$60, it'll probably hit a nice like $50 during the whatever autumn sale or whatever the newest sale. It'll hit like a 15% off maybe,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And then
it is $60.
yeah, give it a year, give it like a year
Oh
or two.
crap!
Maybe we'll get a half off, get like a $30. That'll be a big push. But if you wait a couple of years, you're gonna hit this game's gonna hit that $15 all the time, and then people are
Yeah.
that's the time to pick it up.
Okay, I just randomly remembered. I saw this post. I can't remember if it was a tweet or an article. It was saying like, yeah, $60 games are kind of dying. Everything's like $70 or even like $100. And there was some game that was in early access right now. I can't remember it, and I really wish I could. But it was some like single player game. It's in early access. people paid like $110 for it or something, and apparently there was a game breaking bug that like they fixed, but every single player needs to restart their game like fully, or they're at risk of getting the bug. Like they need to
Well,
make new saves.
that's the tale as old as time with early access. You kind of
Yeah,
expect. I mean, they put that in the clause of the early access. They're like, well, expect wipes. So you get
yeah,
what you
but
get.
people were like really mad about it. I saw like a lot of tweets complaining about it, and it was like everybody was like, "Oh, that's what you get for spending $110 on a game."
Well, it's true. It's a life
Yeah,
lesson.
yeah.
All right.
I don't know. I feel like we've had the same lesson with pre-orders and stuff like that. It's not new, unfortunately.
No. But you know what is new? The games announced at the Nintendo Direct. So
Ooh.
this was like a mini direct thing about like their third party. Nintendo's like third party
Mm-hmm.
um people. I didn't see it live. I didn't even know it was happening. I read the headlines. So I really briefly skimmed it. Now, I don't particularly think anything really stood out to me that much. There are
Mm-hmm.
two games that I'm interested in, so I'll talk about them. One, Castlevania Dominus Collection, which is a collection of the three Castlevania games for the DS, which was Order of Ecclesia, Portrait of Ruin, and Dawn of Sorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Three of my, I mean, I love the Metroidvania games, and these are some of my favorite games. And the reason this collection is great is because they released a Game Boy Advance collection of these games, which is cool if you want to play it on the Switch or whatever. You don't have any emulation. Yeah, whatever. But the DS games, they actually updated it so that the DS games can be played on one screen basically. And you can do that with
Mm-hmm.
emulation. It's just so much more convenient to have it in one place in one package. There's some quality of life features. It's just emulation, but at the end of the day, but
Mm-hmm.
it's works. It's a solid port, and it's on PC. It's on Switch, but it's also on Steam. So I bought it the other day. It's like $30. The games are fantastic, and now it's like a never been a better time to play it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just great, even though it's Konami. So take that as
Yeah.
you will. Do you have any interest? Have you played any? I mean, we've probably talked about Metroidvania stuff before, but if you have
Yeah.
any interest, I mean, I don't know if I would start with these. I would start with probably Symphony of the Night on PS1,
Mm-hmm.
and then you could probably play the Aria of Sorrow on GBA, and then go right into the DS games.
Yeah.
But they're fantastic. So I mean, now you can kind of play all that stuff even on Steam if you don't want to deal with emulation or anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I have played Symphony of the Night. And then I
Oh,
still
we
need
did play.
to.
We
Oh,
talked.
yeah, yeah,
We
we
played
did we
Symphony of
did
the
actually
Night
play it
for the
on we did
episode.
actually play it on on the podcast. Yeah, a while ago.
Yeah, a while
Um,
ago. We didn't.
I do still need to get back into Dead Cells though.
It's
Um,
similar enough. It's
yeah,
different. A
I
lot different.
believe.
It's
Well, I believe that
roguelike.
the wasn't the Castlevania DLC intended to be like a Metroidvania,
No, I think
if I
it's. I
remember
don't know. I
correctly.
have it. I haven't played
I
it.
don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm misremembering.
If you're gonna play any Metro, honestly, I will say so. The Castlevania collection's great. And those
Hmm.
games are genuinely very good. But if you're gonna play any Metroidvania, just play Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight's so good. You would actually probably really like Hollow Knight. We've talked about it a
Hmm.
million times.
Yeah.
Um, but crazy Hollow Knight news. Silk Song was not announced.
Oh my god, you actually scared me for a second. I have a friend who is obsessed with Silk Song. Like he talks about it all like he sends every single Silk Song meme he finds to me. And, I thought, I thought that he had missed like an actual release date or something when you said that.
No, I actually I only say that because I got this whole so the Silk Song like subreddit, which for some reason is like showing up on my Reddit, has a very funny. There was a funny post that I saw that said in all caps, "Warning: This is a drill." And usually it's like this is not a drill. The game got announced, and that actually did get me. I'm like, whoa, did they actually give an announcement? And it's like no, and it was like a Photoshop screen. It's like this is like what would happen if they did announce the game, and it was like a mock
Oh
up
my
of if they
god.
announced it. And I was like, that's pretty
Dude, that
funny.
is like, oh my god, that is peak cooked
Gi-
fandom.
Give them okay. People are like so mean to Team Cherry. It's a small team. Hollow Knight is fantastic. Let them cook. Let them cook. Stop being ungrateful. Although
Hmm.
I do think the fact that we know about the game, we know about its existence, but they've not told us anything about it, not even updates or whatever, which is probably the right decision. It's just tough for the company and it's tough for the players. I think it'll all resolve when the game comes out, you know.
Hmm.
But let me just talk about the last game that I cared about from the direct. So there's a Rune Factory game called Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, and Rune Factory is pretty. It's a pretty great series. It's like a Harvest Moon, fantasy Harvest Moon, and you fight things and do farming. So I've been
Hmm.
playing Rune Factory 3, and I've played Rune Factory 4, and they kind of fell off the wagons with 5. Apparently 5 gets weird. So this is the first entry in a while. Now it has a Japan setting, which I really kind of hate when games are set in like an idealistic countryside Japan feudal era samurai stuff. Like hence Monster Hunter Rise. I just hate that
Yeah.
setting. I just think it kind of becomes a little generic where okay, you're not everything. It's like wow, look all this stuff that is like so Japanese that
So kawaii.
no, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like I'm not a fan of that setting. And then when you
Yeah.
have a game that Rune Factory had a kind of a cool art style, unique art style, and now I'm watching the trailer and it just looks like Monster Hunter Rise, or it just looks like any game that is like set in Japan. I don't know, but
Yeah.
the
I mean,
gameplay actually looks kind of fun.
I think part of the problem with the setting is the whole like it's actually like the place Japan meme where it's like I feel like they don't dive as deep into the what the actual culture is and stuff like that outside of like the cool factor of it lots of the time. So it doesn't feel as like real or authentic as like another setting might.
Well, actually, you know what? Let me double back. Japan, modern day Japan, like contemporary Japan, or like the Yakuza games, or like Persona. Now that's peak. That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Like a city, or
Hmm.
like Persona 4 is like the countryside, but also has elements of. I think it's more of a samurai era
Yeah.
Japan. You know, I don't
Yeah, definitely.
particularly find that interesting. It's a lot of fields, like Legends Arceus. So Pokemon Legends Arceus, uh, the Monster Hunter Rise and this game all look like the same game to me. Like the setting is the same. It's boring, you know. But
Yeah.
it probably does very well in Japan. I would say.
Yeah. Okay,
Um,
but you know what actually is really peak? Having a non-Japan setting, but having just like one ninja slash samurai character.
that is pretty peak.
That
Yeah,
that
no, that's
is
kind
that
of
is
fire.
peak. It's
That's
like he's
fire.
just there. He's just there. You don't even explain why. He just
Oh yeah,
exists there.
just full on samurai. Yeah, no, that's pretty fire.
Hmm.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say about that game. Maybe I'll buy it at some point. I still have to beat 3. But I think we can
Hmm.
move on to our weeks because we've been doing a lot of stuff. We haven't podded in a while because we've both been busy.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna briefly talk about what I've been doing, and we'll go back and forth. But if you've been following me on my Matt Fun Dude YouTube channel, I have been streaming on Matt Fun Dude on YouTube, and I have been making a bunch of videos and YouTube Shorts. I am at like 7. I need to get to like 10 million Shorts views to get monetized. Well, I'm partially monetized right now, but I'm at like 7 million views. So if I could just get that push, then I'll make it. You know, so that's been very exciting. It's been taking up all of my time, and you should go
Hmm.
check that channel out if you have not checked that channel out. But James, what have you been up to? You've been probably doing more interesting things, I would
Yeah.
say.
So I was basically on vacation almost the entire month of August. So I went on a cruise in Alaska. I had
Hmm.
initially gone to Anchorage and done like some tours. Then I went on a cruise, went around to all sorts of different places. Juneau, Ketchikan, other town names I can't remember.
Hmm.
But but yeah, it was really nice. Since it was in August, contrary to popular belief, Alaska is not a frozen tundra the entire year. It was actually like the absolute lowest it got was high 40s, and the highs were in like the 70s.
Wow, I hear it's really nice.
Yeah, like it was actually normal weather. It's a very very beautiful part of the country. Big fan. Lots of trees, lots of wildlife. Lots of glaciers too, at a safe distance. By the way, never drink glacier water. There's
Well,
a video
oh,
going around of Ludacris drinking
okay,
fresh
yep,
glacier water.
Luda.
Like, yeah, like he just takes his water cup and he's like, I've got a bucket list, or as I call it, a fucket list. I've never had fresh glacier water. And then
I
he just
I don't know if that was
bends down,
always on
like
his
he's on the
list.
glacier. He just bends down, scoops up some water, drinks it. You can see his body like vibrate, and then he just yells, "Oh my god!" And the video just ends. And he
Is
hadn't
is it
posted anything for like days.
now? Why is that? Is it cold? Like, what is the?
Okay, so glacier water, it is stuff that's been frozen for a very long time. There are lots of
Oh,
like parasites and stuff like that. You can even
oh,
get very sick or even like die
that's really
if you just like
gross.
straight drink it. And so what people will say, what glacier water enjoyers will say is, "Oh, you got to get it fresh." Because to be fair, it is apparently very good. Like it's like very cold, very fresh like water. It's just, like people say you can feel it through your whole body. It's like the McDonald's Sprite of water. Um,
Okay,
but it, like guys, you can boil it and then like make it cold again. You're fine. You're fine. It won't kill you.
yeah. It's also
It
just
won't kill you if you
water.
do that.
At
Yeah.
the end of the day,
Oh god, there are actually so many things that have happened that it's hard. It's hard to like stay on topic. But that just reminded me of the Asmongold video that's been going around
oh
where he
god, what has
drank
he
he
been
drank a
doing?
bottle of water and he was immediately so disgusted that he washed it down with Coke.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a Asmongold
Oh
is an
man,
interesting character. I hope Asmongold reacts to this podcast. I'm sure. I mean,
yeah.
he's going down the list of every video on YouTube. He's got to hit this one eventually.
Oh god, yeah. Eventually we'll have Asmongold watching us.
Eventually,
Um.
the Asmongold AI, which will be running YouTube in 10
Oh
years, will
god,
have reacted to this.
yeah. But yeah, my trip. As I said, I did miss a lot of a lot of very very comical things because the internet was so bad, and I only really like got to be online a lot when I was like actually docked somewhere, and that depended on if the cell service was good because Alaska is it's out there. So some places
Hmm.
actually just don't have very good cell service, especially not with the service provider that I have.
Yeah, I
But
think you sent me a cryptic message because I think you sent me a message. I was like, "Oh, hey, how's it? Like, are you back yet, or something?" And you're just like, "In Alaska," or something like that. I'm like, "Okay." I just didn't hear back in like for
oh yeah,
several
yeah.
days.
Yeah, okay. I just remembered that. Yes. Yeah, that was probably because I wasn't able to access the internet for a few days.
That's so
Yeah,
funny.
never be fooled by a cruise line saying, "Oh, we have like a
Oh,
we have
that
like
like
Starlink."
Tesla.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
Starlink
Starlink.
internet. It's like, "No, no,
Elon's
when there's more
personal
than like
beam.
when there's more than like 100 people on the internet, it's unusable. Trust me." Even if so I had unlimited internet specifically because I had to work and some of my family members also had to do some work over the vacation because it was a pretty long time to go without working at all. I but so I had unlimited internet, but most people are limited to like 2.5 hours a day. But still, like there were definitely points in the day where you could tell, like, oh, like everybody's just on the internet right now.
It's
And
clogged up.
the funniest thing is the moment we would dock, the internet quality would spike
Yeah, they're
because
watching
people are
Asmongold
yeah, people are getting off the
4K.
ship and stuff. They're not using the internet anymore. But yeah, it was a very nice vacation. I went to Vancouver for a little bit after as well. I finally figured out what British Columbia was.
Hmm.
Like I just thought it was just kind of a place that exists out there. I'd never actually been there. It's very pretty. Would highly recommend, especially Victoria. Like lots of very pretty scenery. It actually looks like something out of like a like it looks like somewhere they would film a movie just like naturally.
Hmm.
Like very 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 cool. It reminded me a lot of BioShock Infinite,
Oh yeah, Columbia. Yeah, I was
not
gonna say
exclusively in a
that.
good way, but that was mostly the fault of the game.
Well, also those giant founding father mechs that were roaming around,
Yeah,
probably. Yeah,
yeah, very
they forget.
very
They don't
weird
mention
game.
those.
Looking back, how did we let that happen?
I don't know. That game was.
Lots of
Remember the
very
player.
odd things going on with that game.
That game was wild because it had like player choice exclusively for the trailer. There's like
Oh
two things in
god.
the game, and it didn't matter. It was like, do you throw a baseball bat at a person who's like chained to a wall, or throw a
Oh yeah,
baseball at
yeah, I
them, or do
remember
you
that.
not? And if you do, you don't. And if you don't, you don't. And that's like one of the only choices in the game. And
God.
none of your choices matter.
I remember people memed on that so hard.
That's tough.
Oh man, yeah, it was a very
Ugh.
very interesting game. But yeah, Vacation was good. It was, uh, so to be 100% honest, I don't know if other people experience this. I personally don't. It's not. I do enjoy going on vacation, but there is a point where it kind of gets too long.
I
I,
agree.
I
I
think
get.
like
I feel like
I
that.
definitely started feeling it at a certain point where I'm like, man, I just kind of want to be like home.
You ever like go on a long vacation and then go home and then like go to the bathroom and then just like you're like, oh man, like going to the bathroom at your own
Yes,
home just it hits different
yes,
because you're like, man, I've been missing out.
especially since I was using cruise bathrooms for a really long time. Like
Hmm.
I can't. I had to like there wasn't space for my legs. Like
You don't have
oh
that jet blue like extra
god.
legroom toilet, you know.
And we actually had like the nicest rooms that like money could buy. Like we had a suite. We had this whole like special area. We had unique restaurants that only we could go to for like lunch and breakfast.
Hmm.
And we had
But
like
you had
a
the pilgrim toilet, like you had
yeah,
the
yeah.
level 1 toilet, not the level 99 mob boss
Yeah,
toilet, you know,
it was really
the
bad.
captain's seat.
Yep.
But anyway, let's speaking of speaking of poop toilet, I
Oh
bought
god.
Borderlands 3
Oh
on
no.
Steam. I'm going to play it. That's all I want to talk about Borderlands. Oh, there's the
Yeah.
movie. It was apparently a hot garbage. Did you see the movie?
Yeah. No, I did not see the movie. I heard from everybody who I knew that thought that it was very bad.
Hot
I don't plan
garbage.
on seeing it. But this is both funny and cool. They did announce Borderlands 4.
I
And
did see
so
that. Yes.
so
Yes,
from
that's
what
why I
I
bought
am
3.
from what it looks like, the plan was, oh, everybody's hyped about the Borderlands movie. We'll announce Borderlands 4. It'll be so cool. But then, when I had initially seen it, I'm like, oh, I feel like they like. What if they announced this to, like, take the attention off? But then I kind of realized like, oh, it was definitely because they thought the movie
Yeah.
was gonna like, they thought people were gonna like it. Oh
Well,
man,
I mean, it
very
kind of worked
unfortunate.
on me in a weird way. There was also a massive Borderlands sale, so I bought 3 with all the DLC for like $10 or something.
Yeah, there's always like every sale, all the Borderlands games are like bundled together for like $10 with all the DLC. Like they go crazy with
Yeah, it's
that
because
stuff.
they know they're kind of like no one wants to pay. If the people who like Borderlands bought it already, and everyone else who reads like the reviews, they're like, "This is cringe." They're like, for $10, the gunplay's fun. I'll play Pro
Yeah.
ZD for a couple minutes.
Oh god. Every time I look at Steam or something, there's just another thing I want to talk about. Apparently, the new Risk of Rain DLC came out, Seekers of the Storm.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
Uh,
cool.
and I just thought, oh, like, click on it, look at a couple screenshots, and then I saw the mostly negative reviews.
Oh wow,
Uh,
that's a curveball.
so
Why is that? Is
apparently it
it
is like unbelievably buggy. Like
that makes
literally
sense?
broke. Game is literally broken.
That's one of
Um,
those things where it's either okay, is this negative because of the bugs or is this like bad? But they could fix a buggy game.
um, I mean, I'm looking at the reviews right now. Like it's
Oh wait,
like
did Gearbox like buy them?
yes,
Oh no.
yeah,
Oh no. Oh
yeah.
no.
Some of them are people being mad about Gearbox. Some of them are people being mad that the mods don't work. Um, so apparently, like, there's a bunch of technical backend stuff that really got messed up, like the frame rate being, like, a bunch of things being tied to the frame rate.
Oh, that's
Um,
rookie time
yeah, like
times delta time, you know.
apparently if you go above 60 FPS, the game breaks.
Yeah, that's we've
In
figured that
really
one out.
yeah, in
It
really
just
odd ways. Like damage starts spiking on like AI, and they start like
that
getting
yeah.
way too fast, like
Because
stuff like
yeah,
that.
they tied they didn't use delta time like that. We figured it out, guys. We can stop having games that
Yeah,
there's no excuse for Risk of Rain 2 to have that problem. That's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, and the funny thing, crazy thing is apparently like the DLC is just very good, but it's just people seem to be really mad about the way literally just the way it's programmed.
They'll fix it.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. It's one of those like super negative storms, then it mellows out. All right.
Yeah.
I think we got to call it a pod. I have more stuff I want to talk about as well, but we'll
We
call
can
it a
save it for the
pod.
next pod.
Yeah. I've been Matt, aka Matt Fondude, and who are you?
I've been James, aka Afro4E.
And if you have any questions, I'll just plug this at the end. You can email us at hyeppodcast@gmail.com. That's hyeppodcast@gmail.com. Or also at the end, if you're listening on Spotify, you can enter a question directly here. So try doing that. We'll answer your questions. Normally, we take questions on the pod at the end, but we had so much to recap that we didn't get to it this week. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's been cool. Check out my stuff on YouTube. I'm cooking up a new video right now. I'm drafting the script. It's probably the longest video that I've worked on,
Pog.
and I'm excited to script it out and get it out to people. I hope people like it. So I'll catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.